All right, I think we're here. Darran, Greene, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, hey everybody, it's Bob here, and welcome to another episode of the cast on what do we got here? Friday afternoon, TGIF. I was going to get my beer. Doggone it, I forgot that. It is beer time on a Friday afternoon.
It's
So
5 o'clock somewhere.
we're happy to have you, man. We've been trying to do this for months between your schedule being the road warrior and ours. It's just been kind of a tough thing sort of connecting the two trains, but I'm glad we finally got together. So again, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been a couple months we've tried this, or maybe even longer than that. It's been probably a year.
Yeah, really, in reality, it's been kind of a year, but let me ask you, or let's just kind of level set for people who don't know exactly who you are and how we met.
Sure.
I think it was a couple of years ago at ICAST is really, I think, where I met Darran. And I'll tell you what, guys, for those of you watching, this is one of the hardest working SOBs I have ever met in this industry. I've got a picture of him, and you probably don't know this, Darran, but you at the booth at ICAST, which was packed, by the way.
Right.
I got a picture of you on your hands and knees writing an order on the ground because you had nowhere to write because there were so many people around that booth. And,
I remember that.
yeah, that was a fun time to meet. That show is unbelievable.
It is, and it's glad it'll be back this year. Finally, it'll be live again, which is cool.
Yeah, and then here's the other thing about ICAST and line cutters, guys. These guys throw one of the most epic parties that any vendor at ICAST throws, and they know how to do it right. They rent out the whole. I can't remember the name of the place.
BB Kings.
Yeah, BB Kings. Yeah, and
Yep.
There's all kinds of people there. That's kind of a who's who of the fishing industry. I remember sitting next to Seth Feider, having beers with Seth, and and Christine Fisher sitting there talking to Christine. It was amazing.
Yeah, you just never know who's going to show up. It was really, really cool to see from, like you said, Seth and Christine to Jacqueline to, Filthy Anglers was there. Vance is there. They were doing prizes, and you just never know who's walking through the door. So it's really, really cool.
And how did that come about? What was the light that went off in your head that said, "Hey, let's do a party"?
Well, the funny thing about it was Vance went down to ICAST and he wasn't invited to a party the very first year, and he was like, I'm just an average guy. He's like, we can throw a party. We can throw a party. I don't know if people will come, but we'll throw a party. So our first party, we only had 250 people, and we thought, man, that was a pretty good turnout. Fast forward to the year you came, we had like an hour and a half wait to get in.
Yeah, exactly. And it sounds exactly what, like Vance too, right?
Yes.
Well, I'll show you, I can do this too, right?
Yeah, and now it's like one of the biggest parties. Maybe Costa might have us beat a little bit, but I mean, our party is, as you saw, it's pretty awesome.
Well, I mean, they can have you beat because they've been there for a long time, but you guys are relatively new to the industry, and it's an amazing story. Before we get into that, let me just ask a little bit about you and your history, and what's the earliest fishing memory that you have?
Gosh, I remember fishing when I was probably 5 years old.
What's that? Another order that just came in?
Yeah, that's my phone. Let me silence that. Yeah.
That's all right.
We never stop working here. So, I used to fish with my brothers. They're a lot older than I am. So they would take me up to Bemidji on Red Lake or actually Grace Lake right outside of Red Lake. And I would just fish from the dock until sun up to sundown. Like that was like the best babysitter you could imagine. It was like, as long as he has a life jacket on, a fishing pole, just let him do his thing.
Right. He can learn all by himself. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so were they family vacations, or just with your brothers, or how did that work? Mom and dad, or uncles, grandparents?
Just with my mom and my brothers. My aunt had a lake home on Grace Lake, so we spent a lot of time up in Bemidji. And then I lived in Duluth, so Twin Forks is obviously a big fishing area. So we fished the river, we fished Lake Superior, so it was kind of always just around us.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And then that's probably where your Instagram handle by yourself is Bass Muscle. That's probably why you got so connected with the bass species then at that point, right?
Yeah, like I loved it. I like catching any fish, to be honest. But bass is what I target, and that's what I try and cash a paycheck on here and there with some small tournaments. But that's my my go-to for sure.
Right, and then you got the bass, and then _muscle.
Yes.
And so you're a gym rat.
Right? I am a major gym rat.
Workout fiend, right?
Yes.
How did that happen?
Growing up, I played sports my whole life. Hockey, football, baseball. I took baseball into college and then a little afterwards. So, being fit and being in the gym was, even if it wasn't an option, you had to do it. You know what I mean? Or if it wasn't your option, they made you do it. And I fell in love with it. So, it just keeps you moving. We work long hours, and I figure if I'm healthy, I can work even longer. Right,
and early riser too, because I always see your posts, early at the gym in the parking lot.
Yeah,
right.
We if I'm like our team around here that we fish with, we're up at 3:30. The guys are usually at my house by 4, and we're on the road to fish. Otherwise, that same time, I'm on the way to the gym by myself.
Right, with your supply of whatever that is that you. Yes. What is it? Bang? What's your go-to?
Blake Star energy drink.
Blake Star, there we go. Yeah,
I love it.
Can't work out without that. I'm kind of a little bit more frugal. Here's my hot tip. I go to the dollar store. They've got these 4-ounce, 5-hour energy for $1.
Right.
And so I just I've got my my cup here, and I just kind of have almost like an IV drip throughout the day. Just happen. I one a day basically, and that's basically my go-to. That's what I do.
No, fair enough. And it's way cheaper there. It's like $5 for one of those. I think at the grocery store or gas station.
And they're the little ones, $5. And try buying one of those in Las Vegas after a night out. Right? They're even worse than that. Maybe $6 or $7.
And if they put it in your refrigerator, it's probably like $30.
Right. So let me ask you. You turn into the whole line Cutterz story.
Yeah.
How did you get connected with Vance, and how did you become the sales director for Line Cutterz?
I actually met Vance. I went to, it would have been his very, very first expo. It was just him. It was in St. Paul at the ice fishing show, and came across his booth. I had no idea about it, and he showed me it cut braid. I was like, well, this is pretty awesome, So I started using it more and more and more, and I would post, and then I was showing people, and then people were going on the site. And at that point, he didn't know me from anybody. So I was like, just tag, put my name in there, and started just showing and showing and showing. So, he reached out, and I took him fishing one day. We finally got on the phone, and the company was probably only like 4 months old at that point, maybe 5 months. So I took him fishing, and had one of the best days on the water that I've ever had. And he's like, you catch fish like this all the time? I was like, yeah. Like that's what I do all the time.
Yeah.
And then after that, we just hit it off. We had a lot in common, and I just, I was working a full-time job at that time as well. And if I saw a bait shop or something, I would just swing in there, just kind of pitch it. And then next thing you know, he's sending me to Boston one weekend to work a trade show by myself. So, I guess I did good. So
you did.
I made my own, I guess, position with the company. So left Wells Fargo, and here I am.
Yeah. And do you remember your first impression when you first saw the product?
I was mind blown. Mind blown. I've struggled to cut braid for years at a time, and not saying that there's products out there that can't cut it, but it's never going to cut it as fast, smooth, and clean as our product. So I was a believer, right off the bat. And then next thing you know, we're on Shark Tank, and boom, here we are.
Right. So for those who don't know, if they've been under a rock or head under the sand or whatever, just explain, the product line, from Line Cutterz.
Yep. So originally, and of course I'm wearing one, but originally, if you can see this, it's a ring. It has a blade on each side. So you can run your line through here, again, this is braided line. I'll try and get it on camera the best I can. But here's braided fishing line. You bring that through, and it cuts it like a hot knife through butter. It's completely safe. So this was the very first one. It's fully adjustable, so you can wear it. You can actually put it on a rod if you wanted to. And then we had a lot of the captains that were mounting this on their boats. So then we went to a flat mount that will have the same design, only a flat bottom. So you can put this on boats, kayaks, tackle boxes, you name it, any hard surface. And then our newest, well, one of our newest products would be the zipper pull. And this one is the one we cannot keep in stock. So
yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, you can put this on jackets, bibs, waders, lanyards. We teamed up with Striker, and they put them on their jackets, bibs, and soon to be rain gear. And then our newest one would be the micro scissor. I call it the Swiss Army knife, because you'll have snips for people that want to cut the knot off if they can't do it with this quite yet.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have our product, which is right on the top. Right here, you see that ceramic blade.
Yeah.
And then this little top thing right here is to help you tighten any of your knots. If you're using like a very, very like mono, a lot of the guys would put the hook in their cleat. So for example, you'd be able to put this through here, and then you'd have your line, say, connected to this side, and you'd be able to pull it, and you'd never have that hook in your hand, or your hook, tightening your cleat.
Right.
So, well, that's our line currently. And like I said, this one we got best in show at ICAST last year.
Yep, I remember that. There's a lot of hooping and hollering when that was announced. That was fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be out next month finally. We did some upgrading on some of the blades and coatings, but then with COVID and manufacturing, it killed everything around the industry. So
right. And that new product there, I forgot what you called it.
The micro scissors.
The micro scissors, thank you. So that probably came from some feedback from your customers, right? Saying, hey, I wish it did this, or I wish it did that. Correct?
Yeah. Yep. And everything, actually, believe it or not, is from our customers.
Right.
They came up with this idea, and then we were like, well, people are mounting this. Why don't we make one that's mountable? And then at shows, people would be like, oh, you should do this, you should do that. And we thought, well, there's nothing on clothing, so why don't we do that? And it's safe. It's not going to cut your clothing. So, we listen to feedback. We, try things out. We've had millions of designs, but, these are the four that have kind of made it. And, with this, any type of scissor, whether you're using, scissors that look like this to cut your line, you're always going to have that middle pivot joint.
Yep.
Or if you're using snips, like, I'm not saying that this isn't going to cut braid forever.
Yeah.
But with that pivot joint, what will happen is if you're cutting mono or floral and then you try and cut braid, the diameter of line is completely different. So it weakens that pivot joint. It may not be that the scissors itself is dull, but your pivot joint is loose, so then you can't cut. So with all of our products, there's no moving parts. So you can cut mono, floral, braid, lead core, go back to braid, and you still get that clean cut. So it's more about our design rather than how sharp it actually is.
Yeah, and it's probably one of the most innovative products that have come along in the fishing industry in years. And guys, you're watching, you never know where inspiration comes from, because as Vance tells the story, and I'll probably butcher it, but he had a big shark on the line, and he went to cut the line, and get rid of the thing. And he was looking for a knife. He dropped it, almost stepped on it, whatever. And it was just kind of a mini train wreck there for a little bit. And he thought, well, what if I just had something on my hand or on my finger or whatever? And then he went home and got some plumber's putty, I believe, or welding putty.
Yep.
And then sort of destroyed a dental floss container and took the little cutter off the top of it. And boom, he had the first prototype.
Yep. That's all it took.
And hopefully that thing is mounted somewhere in the new store in the Line Cutters Hall of Fame somewhere. Right?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. He put it in our display case, or our checkout
Yeah.
That's what you would call it. Like we have all the lures in there, and he put it in there. I was surprised because that's a big deal.
That is a
But
big
it's been
deal.
there forever now. So
Yeah. And speaking of that, I mean, a new development in your, the company's history is the store down in Texas. It just opened last fall, I believe, last October.
Yeah, that was kind of like the soft opening, but we had
Okay.
our grand opening in February. So
Okay. It was a while ago. Yeah. And so where did that come from? So you've got this little product that is well suited to online and retail and so forth, but yet you go one step further and you actually open up a store. Tell me about that.
So, with COVID hitting, we do a lot of trade shows. I think it's like 46 to 54 a year. And with COVID, demolishing all the trade shows, that's a big portion of business for not only us, but for any other people that look at that for a revenue, especially when you're doing that many. So we were growing and we are always growing. So we were in like a 600-foot warehouse. And doing everything in there, the printing, the packaging, the offices, you name it. So Vance had looked around and found that old building and was like, well, this is probably, could be a good buy, and we're going to expand. So this will be a good warehouse. And then next thing you know, people are like, well, you should, maybe sell kayaks, and then you should do this and that. So Vance is like, well, if we're going to be working here, we might as well sell stuff. And then we sold 1 kayak, and then 10 kayaks, and 20 kayaks, and we just made a store out of it. And the offices are right in the back, so it's like you're working in your office, you're talking to people about fishing, and I mean it worked out great.
And the location works too, because it's on the main, what I've seen on the main route from the Houston area down towards the ocean, right? So it's almost like a destination shop as well, right?
Yeah, it is. And there's a lot of people in the area that they have to drive 45 minutes or so to get to a Bass Pro or Academy or something along that lines. And we bring in products that we believe in, that we've used, tested, people that have collaborated with us, small businesses who are, booming. So it's nice because you're on your way to Matagorda, Surfside Beach, all of these places, you literally have to almost drive by our place. So it
sounds, it sounds really cool. I've met Vance and obviously met you, and haven't met Cullen or any of the other people, but it looks to me, just based on what I see online and the sort of goofiness that goes on, is that you guys really have kind of a fun company culture too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a grind. We're always working, but we love what we do. So those guys have the luxury because they all get to work together. Like behind me, this is where I spend my time if I'm not on the road and on the boat. So I get left out of some of the games and the pranks, which I'm okay with sometimes. But it's a great culture. I mean, we truly are like a family. It's not like a company.
Right. And I've seen you on that naughty list before.
Yeah, I'm usually leading. I think I'm doing good this month for once.
Darran, the problem child, right?
Yes, for sure.
So let me ask you, as a sales director, you're all over the place. What's your travel schedule like?
Right now it's not that bad. I'm actually supposed to be in Texas right now. But other things came up, so I got to stay home for the weekend.
Got it.
But when we're in trade shows, I usually leave around December 27th, 28th, and I might be back home middle of April, end of April. And there might be a day or two where I get to come home for a couple of days, but we're traveling nonstop around the US.
And you've set up, as part of the travel, meeting with companies and so forth, you've set up some collaborations, as you said, with Stryker, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe a boat brand as well that's incorporating your products into the consoles, or is that accurate?
Yep, that's it. So we're with Stryker. So again, our zipper pulls on their jackets and stuff. But then Falcon Boats, Avid Boats, HCB Custom Yachts. You'll probably see it on Triton Boats at one point here too. We've done customs for Skeeter, Ranger as well. So a lot of, they sell those products and people assume that it's theirs, but it's just us. But we co-brand it, and it says, Ranger or Skeeter on it.
Right. And so when you're doing that, I mean, I don't know that it's quite related, but bass muscle and line cutters, how do you juggle? How do the two twains meet or not? Because you're setting up sponsorships with line cutters. You're sponsored as Bass Muscle too.
Yeah.
How do you juggle those two, entities?
It's kind of tricky sometimes, we set up our own personal pages. We have our main page, Line Cutters, but Vance wanted to be able to showcase our own personalities, he has children, so you get to see that side of him, and I have corgis. So, but I fish a lot more than they do. So, when I like something, like Striker, I'm like, I got to get our products on Striker. So, the two kind of help, I kind of do hand in hand. What I like and what I get for sponsorships, and I kind of run with it that way. So I would say Line Cutters helps me out in getting to where, I would like to be in the fishing industry too.
Right. And Striker, from what I understand, you love the product.
I do.
And you just kind of latched onto it, I guess, and got to know the people and kept at it. And now you're kind of a spokesman or you're sponsored, correct?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I fish on their team, and it's nice. I love all of their clothing. We just had a team event, a Line Cutters team event, and two of their main guys, Barry and Mike, had come up for the weekend with us, and another one of their guys had come from Iowa, and Joe flew in from, I think, Colorado. Brady was from Iowa, so we had four of the main guys with us. So it's just nice to team up with people that are like-minded and believe in the products, both products, Line Cutters and Striker.
Right. And, as you know, one of the things that we do is help teach people how to, be better for their sponsors, present themselves to sponsors, get sponsors and give them strategies and so forth. But you've got a lot of experience with people who have come to you and asked, hey, can you sponsor me? And so tell me a little bit about how you not deal with that, but how do you work with that, and tell me about the approach that generally works with you, and maybe some of the sponsorship approach fails. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I run across it every day. I run the pro staff as well. I guess in my time, I'm working on getting some help on that, but yeah, we get, literally 20 applications a day. So it's a grinding process. And I apologize to people that have applied. But I want to go in, I want to make sure that what they put on their application, followers, and you don't have to have a lot of followers. You just
correct
have to be genuine. You have to like the product, and that's really all I'm looking for. If you have 50,000 followers and we put you on ProStab, but you never post anything, it does nothing for us.
Correct.
I would rather have you be heartfelt and have 500 followers and post all the time. You know? So I think people who are applying think like, oh man, I have to have a lot of followers, because we do ask, like, do you use Instagram? Do you use Facebook? What is your social media platforms? And then they'll say like 4,000, and then I'll go look and it's 400, and I'm like, we don't, like, I'm gonna figure it out.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, just be straight with me, and I'll go through it, and I'll reach out to people, but I just really look for people that if you're already using the product, that's awesome. I just I don't want to bring people on our staff as like because they think it's cool, because it's new, because we're growing. It's not all about that. It's about literally believing in it, using it, showing people how to use it.
Right. And kind of a professional approach. We like to say it's almost like approaching it like a job interview too, right? There's some basics there, like, dude, spelling, that's one. And that's pretty basic. And then, just the right approach, and back it up with okay, here's your followers. Here's what I do. Love your product or whatever. And then we teach, building a media kit, right? So they can send you something that actually says, here's what I do. Here's some facts, instead of just, putting it on an application and then you finding out 4,000 means 400.
Right.
So that can go a long way to paying off to, so if you're listening to that, to this, that can go a long way to connecting with guys like Darran in terms of, getting pro staff opportunities. And it's just really just a few tweaks that people need to do, but it makes a hell of a difference in terms of being noticed and getting to the top of that pile, right?
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, fishing, is obviously has become extremely popular. Pro staff itself, I mean, has become popular. Everybody wants to be part of it, or field staff, and people have different levels. And now it's like, I should say 5 years ago, I don't think it was as crazy as it is now. It's a great marketing tool for the company. It's a great experience for the person too. So both parties are really starting to see the benefits of what can happen if you have a great team and they use your product, they believe in your product.
Right. And it's as you said, 5 years ago, even 10 years ago, the iPhone is only 10, 12 years old. So that changed everything. But
yeah,
it used to be guys like Al Lindner and Jimmy Houston or whatever. Saturday mornings, right? You went and you watched the television and watched their shows.
Yep.
And, the companies used to have to go to them, and there weren't very many outlets, right? But everything is sort of flipped and changed. So for brands like you guys, you've got these sort of influencers, these pro staffers that you actually need, I would maintain, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we look at things, for example, some of our influencers, if they post, I can typically see an immediate reaction on our website.
Yeah.
Or, like I do a lot of traveling with Jacqueline Crooks, and it just takes Jacqueline to wear, our shirt or our hat or be traveling with me and posting on Mille Lacs or somewhere here. And instantly I can watch transactions come through.
Yeah.
Just as simple as that. Another one is Snooki. She does a lot of work for us, and she promotes us all the time. And it's like second nature for her. She's like, oh, it just makes sense to, use the ring when I'm fishing. It's not that I'm trying to do it. It's just, that's what I do, and same thing, like she can post a picture and I can watch the trail of, by the time she did it to when, sales will come through.
Right. And that's kind of a lesson in, use the product, know the product, love the product, just be real with it. Don't try to, pick up a bag of plastics and go, hey, I love these things. And you really haven't used them at all.
Right.
That's just that. I think people can see right through that.
Yeah, for sure. And I kind of giggle sometimes because I'll see people that'll say like, thank you for this company putting me on your pro staff. I can't wait to try these out. And I'm like,
oh yeah, right.
I'm like, well, why do you want to be on there if you haven't used whatever product it may be for you?
Yeah, that's pretty much the backwards approach, right?
Yeah, 100%.
What kind of time commitment does it take to manage those people?
A lot.
Yeah.
So that's why it takes me so long to add people, because I just have so much to go through. And if I'm going to make that much time, there's only 4 of us basically in this entire company. So
yeah,
time is money, and I want to make sure that I'm investing it in the right people. And I'm not saying that I'm the smartest person. I'm probably overlook or just don't have time to get to the right people at sometimes. So
sure.
I always tell people, I'm sorry, I'll get to it, and I go back through and relook at things. It is a lot of time, because we want to make sure that we have the right people for our team.
Is there a standard expectation that you set for these folks?
Not really. We want to make sure, again, people aren't getting paid to be on pro staff. and they have everyday lives. So I'm not going to say that you need to post 6 times or we're going to let you go, or you need to do this and you need to do that. We just say, no drama, love the product,
right.
promote when you can. And if we need any help, that's awesome. Like trade shows, or if we post something, just repost it. You've met Vance and I, we're upbeat, we're pretty laid back. So
yeah,
we're not going to hold any of these crazy standards. And I always feel bad when people are like, hey man, my wife had a baby and I haven't been fishing as much. Cool. That's fine. I mean, life happens. Like this isn't your job. So I'm not mad at you, like that's cool. Do what you can. And we appreciate everything you do.
Yeah. So just summarize what somebody that's coming to you, summarize the approach and what you're looking for.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking just for somebody who, loves our product, upbeat, loves to fish, and just kind of works hard, has good morals. And we do a lot of stuff for veterans, for cancer, like breast cancer. I mean, basically everything we do donations for. So just your everyday Joe, that loves to fish, whether it's a female angler, which we fully support, to male to kids. And
absolutely.
Yeah, we're kind of all over the board. We don't discriminate.
Fantastic. All right, so we're getting to the point where I want to ask the one question that I asked everybody that I talked to on the cast like this, and it gets a different answer, but here we go. So what is the one setup that you would go to if you could only have one setup, one rod, reel, line, lure, and you needed to just catch fish? What would that one setup be?
That would be a jig.
Okay.
I am a major jig guy.
Okay, there's more to it than that, though. What else?
So I would have a jig with a craw trailer. I would have medium, a heavy rod. I used Daiwa Tatula reels, so I would have an 8-1 SV spool for that bad boy, and I usually throw it on about 15 to 20 fluoro.
Got it. It's cool that I just get different answers, and it's fine because there's so much tackle out there, so much gear that a lot of it is personal preference based on what people have caught, but it also is going to be different from somebody in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan versus Pensacola or Key West or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be very, very different. So
100%.
I love asking that question. So all right, so lightning round here. What's the biggest lie about fishing?
About my fishing?
Just the biggest lie about fishing in general.
Oh, man, the biggest lie. Man, what would be the biggest lie? That you only, how should I say it? No, not that you only need one rod, is that you need a rod for every setup. I think that's kind of a big lie. You don't need 20 rods. Like people used to fish with a cane pole, and now we have you need to throw it on this and that and this and that. And I don't think that's true.
Yeah. All right. That's a good answer. So 2 characteristics of a successful fisherman, angler.
Never give up and fish till you drop.
I like it. What are you grateful for today?
Gosh, I guess just life in general. And I had a pretty scare last week. Rushed to the emergency room, so that was kind of crazy. So it made me even think about life even a little bit. Like it could be gone in that. So just every day I'm grateful to get up and do what I love. Well,
I'm glad everything worked out there. So best advice a mentor ever gave you?
Believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, not everybody is going to, it's like if you're your number one fan. So just believe in yourself and follow your dream. It's kind of cliche, but that's how I've lived my whole life.
Yeah, exactly. Favorite music?
Country.
All right. Favorite artist?
Florida Georgia Line.
All right. I like that. And then finally, favorite food?
Steak, 100%.
Are you a porterhouse guy, a filet guy, or?
Filet has to be medium rare to rare.
Yeah, and I'm with you there, Darren. We do that pretty much Saturday night is steak night. Have you ever? You know what a sous vide machine is?
I do not.
All right, so you got to try one of these things.
Okay.
So I know it sounds crazy, but you actually season the steak, right? Like you're going to put it on the grill, but then you put it in a Ziploc bag and you put it in a water bath, and you can do the temperature at like 129 or 136 or whatever. Yeah. So the steak is cooked perfectly. Then you put it on your grill at really high heat and sear that bad boy hard, on both sides for maybe a minute. Yeah. I'm telling you, you've never eaten anything better. So that's my gift to you today is go check out, it's called a SOU, it's 2 words, SOU and then VIDE. I'll send you a link to the one we have, but I'll tell you what, for a filet, they're freaking, it's amazing. It really, really.
Yeah. I go to Sioux Lago up in Prior Lake here, and they have the best steak I've ever had in my life.
Have you ever tried the duck there?
I haven't. I haven't got away from the flake because it's so good.
Yeah, my wife tried the duck there, and I almost kind of reached over and started grabbing it. I took a bite, and I went,
"Oh, really?
Oh, wait a second! You out-ordered me!" And I started reaching over to grab the duck. So I love that restaurant, though. It's great.
I'll have to give it a try.
Yeah. So, hey, Darren, this has been fun. I'm glad we finally were able to get together. And, tell people who are watching, how do they get in touch with you? How do they get in touch with Line Cutterz?
Yeah, I mean, we all have Instagram pages. So, again, mine would be Bass Muscle, Line Cutterz, self-explanatory. You just look up that. And then on Facebook, we have a website, www.linecutterz.com. It's with a Z.com. And all of our products are on there. And local stores, you name it, we're taking over the world.
And tell everybody needs to look out for the Line Cutterz rig.
Yeah,
the fully wrapped rig, trailing the boat in the summer and driving on the ice in the winter. Right?
Yeah, if you see us, come say hi. I usually give away product to people that come and say hi to us, and yeah, we always have a good time. That's for sure.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Well, Darren, it's been great. Once again, thanks for being here. And
thank you.
You guys out there, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Cast.
Awesome. Thanks again.